Welcome YouTube! Well, it's nice to see you again, and this week I'll be doing a little walkthrough of this edit. So first you can see me selecting the parts I want to replace with content aware fill. So I make a selection with the selection tool, just go over it and hitting Shift F5 to put up the content aware fill dialog box, and then it just fills it automatically. As you can see, it does the job pretty nice. The only thing we had was on the left side, you can see that the shadow from the tripod wheel is still in the place, so I reselect it again. So the first thing I always do is just remove distractions in the image. I zoom in and then I start using the normal retouching brush, which automatically calculates everything. So I just have to paint over it. Because we're in the background, texture is not really an issue. So I just paint over it slightly. And yeah, you can see me zooming in, removing the foot tag under the boot. And it's just painting over it with a XP pen. I'm using now a 24-inch display tablet. And then I'm just scrolling through the image and I'll be running my frequency separation action, which is based on a median technique. So I'm running it and I'm choosing a median that is just enough to remove texture but even out the transitions between color. And then I just start removing the imperfections on the skin on the high layer with a clone brush set to current layer. So that's an important step. Make sure that the clone stamp is set to current layer. You see me removing it by holding down the Alt key and then just painting over it. And then I just scroll through the image with holding down the space bar and dragging the image across the screen so I know where I want to retouch it. So you can see some imperfections I'm removing from the image. And then I just scroll through the image slightly to see like, hey, this is still a part, like this little armpit catches a little bit of light, I want to remove it. I just scroll through it, going over the image. Like if there's something that draws the attention, I remove it. Still going through it. And the more time you spend on this process, the better the end result will be. So here you can see me removing, because the boot is pressing on the model's leg, you can see it disforms a bit. So I'm doing this, but in the end I will come back to this section because there was something funky going on. So what I'm gonna do now, I'm gonna paint with a mixer brush on the leg, but you can see that it evens out the transitions in color. So I'm painting over it, evening out skin tones. Because we're using gelled light, we can just even it out with the brush, which is set at 10% flow, and then all the other settings are at 20 or 30%. And just paint over it in the direction the light is going. So don't start smoothing out everything because you remove all the definition, all the sculpture in an image. So you see me just painting over it. I zoom in, I zoom out to have still control over the entire image. So this is just looking like, hey, where are the transitions not nice? So this was a combination of soft and hard light. So I want to make sure that all the transitions in skin tones are nice. Now here you can see me going back to the to the texture layer, the high layer, because there was too much definition texture in the skin, in the highlight. So I just went over it and I'm doing the same thing to even out the texture in the skin. And then changing between the high frequency and the low frequency, I start mixing it together to make everything look perfect. Here something went totally crazy. But then yeah, I'm just painting over it, nothing crazy, evening out skin tone. So I'm taking a lighter patch and pulling it into a darker patch to make the transitions even out. So still painting, making sure that I got the entire image, not just the face, which is really important. So then I merge everything together by hitting Ctrl-Command-E and I go into liquify. So in liquify, I'm just gonna perfect the image a little bit more because she's stretched that crazy. Some things might distort, so I'm just pushing and pulling where it's necessary in this image. I don't want to deform the model entirely. I just want to fix the image a little bit, if we can call it a fix. Then I'm taking a curves adjustment layer to play around with the colors and see what my options are. Now the model liked it really pink, so that's why I went for a really pinkish tone in the end. And you can see me playing around with a selective color. And in the selective color, you can choose which part you want to adjust. So now I've chosen the blacks, so I'm adjusting the color in the shadows. So I'm introducing a bit more magenta in it. And then on top of that, I do a color balance in the midtones. And that way I can change the entire feel of the image. Now we want to go to the pink tones, so I introduced a little bit more blue and a little bit more cyan. And then back to the shadows, playing around and seeing what I can come up with. So you can see you can completely change the feel in an image. So just playing, and when you feel like, hey, this is okay, that's the point you go and you just stop playing around. I merge them in a group. And on top of that, I'm trying to make everything brighter again. So I'm putting a curve on there. And I'm gonna paint some highlights onto the image, nothing too crazy, so we don't want to draw the attention too much to the image, just enough that we have some light guiding us through the image. Another one, but this time the other way around, so I will be introducing some shadows. I want to enhance the shadow in the back to make it a little bit more three-dimensional, to create some depth in the image. So when I hold down the Alt key and click on one of the layers on the eye icon, I can see my progress so far. It's like this, you can see by holding down the Alt key, you can see like where we started, where we ended up right now. And I'm gonna try to play around with a gradient. A gradient is nothing more than a color that goes from one color to another color. And you can choose the color you want to play around with. And for this, I wanted to introduce some oranges in it, but in the end it was just too much. It drew the attention too much. So I'm playing around with the settings in the gradient. But I decided to like, you know what, I don't like it orange. And then I just clicked twice on the gradient map and I changed the colors to something purplish again. So I click on the gradient, I change the color to something purplish. There we go. And then we go from purplish to transparent. Or something blue apparently. Yeah, no, I went to purple. And so you have a gradient going from magenta into transparent. And then play around with the blend modes. Soft light in this case to create some more contrast in the image. I merge everything together, and this time I run my sharpening action because for me the image is done. So I run my sharpening action, but then I came to the conclusion that there is still some distortion going on the leg. You can see there's still some little part drawing the attention where the boot is pressing on her, so I closed it down, went back to the original edit, removed the sharpening layer, and put those into a layer. And then I just started using just a normal healing brush to first clean it up a bit. It didn't work that well, so I decided to change to the clone stamp with a really low flow and a soft brush to copy and paste actually the detail. Now this will pop up I think twice or 3 times. And also when you're doing this on a transparent layer, make sure that you change your brush mode to current and below so that it takes samples from the layers underneath it. Because if you take samples from a transparent layer, you won't see anything. So I have the tendency to paint over the edge, and then with a layer mask, I will be correcting it with painting black on the layer mask to make sure that we remove it. But that is the easiest way instead of just painting just until the edge. So something to keep in mind, paint over the edge and then correct it with a layer adjustment, with an adjustment mask. Layer mask that was. And then you can see like I'm still blending everything together with the clone stamp. And you see me trying, undoing, redoing it again, just to make sure that when you're doing this, the effect is what you like. And yeah, there's always trial and error in this scenario. So I'm making a new layer set to color, then it only adjusts the color, and I start painting over it with a normal brush. So I sample the color I want to paint over it, and then I just start painting over it. But yeah, you can see there's still some blemishes going on. And then in the end, I rerun my action, my frequency separation action again. And I will be adjusting this in the low layer, so the color layer, and I will be using again a mixer brush and just painting over it to even out all the transitions in there, because this is the easiest way to fix this. We could have done dodging and burning, but it would take too long to fix this, so I just decided to go with a frequency separation technique to blend out the transitions. Renaming it, and then I'm running my sharpening action again, and it just sharpens the image, resizes the image to 2048 pixels on the longest side, and then it puts 2 sharpening layers on top of it, and then I just hit Ctrl Shift Alt E to save it for web. 100% quality, give it the name, save it, and that's it. That's done. And then it just, I don't save the resized image, I only save the original image. So this is me clicking with holding down the Alt key, clicking on the background, and then we can see the before and the after. So yeah, that's about it. Hope you liked it, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.